We drove everything on WEC, but who knows? Maybe Bobby's got something cooking that he's going to tell me this weekend. And could we be here in 27 if something triggered that or came to us, like Bobby going, "I'm ready to go"? We'd sit down and have that conversation.
Zach Brown, welcome to the Rolex 24 Daytona 64th edition coming up here. You're in driver's gear.
In driver's mode.
Because you were just out firing around in your beautiful Jaguar GTP car. You're here, passion-based, your own team is here. United Autosport, obviously. You look at what's happening with McLaren in the bigger world, prototype world coming here. I know I'm the millionth person to ask you, happy that you're starting on the global stage. Obviously McLaren being a British mark, totally understand that. We want you here in America, my guy. California product here. What's the process? What would it take evaluation-wise to say, the timing's right to add GTP?
Yeah, I think, first of all, thanks for having me on, and cool to be here. And
it's a hell of a backdrop.
Kind of no cooler place than Daytona at night. First of all, we want to be here. I want us to be here. Iconic racing series, IMSA, I grew up around it. North America is a hugely important market to McLaren, to our fans, to our sponsors. So we're getting into WEC in 27. It's quite a big undertaking. When I started at McLaren, my bosses said, fix Formula One. But once you fix Formula One, we want to start building stuff that makes sense for us. And obviously North America, I've been here with Can-Am, I'm going back to Bruce, we've won Le Mans, we've won IndyCar, with the Indy 500 twice. So once we kind of felt we had traction in Formula One, we stepped up to IndyCar. That's gone extremely well. Last year was the most successful year in our short history. And then been working on getting into sports cars for, just like IndyCar, about 5 years. I'm probably a little bit, my eagerness, passion, and enthusiasm probably gets ahead of the balance sheet a little bit at times. But eventually it catches up. Yeah. And that's what happened with IndyCar. We got back on track on Formula One. Now Formula One's in a beautiful place. IndyCar's in a great place. So it was kind of, the name of our business is McLaren Racing. We're not going to go do anything other than racing. And so we announced we're getting into WEC. Big undertaking. It's going great, even though the car's not been on the track yet. What do you mean it's going great? We've got a great team principal in James Barkley. We've already got a lot of corporate support. We've done this awesome track car. That's selling really well. So just early indications are we made the right decision at the right time. We enter that in 27. But we got to kind of digest what we put on the plate before we put more on the plate. And the next, and probably the only next thing sitting here, we're not going to get into NASCAR or World Rally or drag racing. Not there's anything, I love all those forms of racing, but the kind of final chapter, as far as I can see, would be getting involved in IMSA. So I think we need to just make sure WEC kind of gets off the ground and is successful. We've got new cars coming in IndyCar in 28. So it just, economics, resources, but each team is independent. So, the Formula One team's Formula One, IndyCar's IndyCar, WEC's WEC. So if we got involved in IMSA, it would be IMSA. It wouldn't be, we're not pulling on different resources. So just need to kind of get everything going to where we feel we can win in everything and everything can kind of stand on its own 2 feet.
I don't feel like I'm giving away top secret thing here, but IMSA President John Doonan, two of you, pretty friendly.
We go back.
I know you think highly of him. Obviously, he's saying, yeah, great to hear about WEC. We got the kind of the home team here. But there is a real positive dialogue between the two of you, and as you've said for many years about sports cars, prototypes, it's not a question of if, it's when. How does that work? How do you talk with John saying, give us a little bit of time, but truly, we are thinking of you?
I think I've known John for a long time. Back in my previous days, he was my client when he was head of Mazda Motorsports. He's a petrol head like you and I. Just actually came from a meeting with him in Ed and just kind of went, here's where we are. James and I met with him. He's exactly that. Hey, it's great you're in sports cars. That's one step closer. So I'd rather see us in sports cars than not.
Of course.
but I'd rather see us over here or in addition to, which I get. So they're extremely helpful. They're aligned with the ACO on regulations, so we need that relationship. We kind of see it almost as one. There's a European international and a domestic, but they work so closely together. So yeah, he's pushing hard. That's what I would expect him to do. That's what I would do if I was him, but he's pushing hard from a what can we do to help, and I think he's a great promoter and leader of IMSA and proper racer, so it'd be fun to come racing here.
McLaren Automotive, already been in GT racing, but back here in IMSA, GTD Pro, new friends, but old friends, you know, yeah. Bobby Rahal, Mike Lanigan, David Letterman, Jay Fry now running the show there, RLL with the McLaren, that 720S GT3. Tell us about that side, because I know they're already thinking we're one car, but next year we want to be two. And boy, if those GTPs come, it's a cool expansion. I don't know if they collide in the future, but another deep papaya orange opportunity.
100%. So big Bobby fan, have been ever since I was that big. Cool to see the car here. Really happy that he's running it. I'd love to see him run too. And you know, if we make the decision to come to IMSA, which I hope we do, that's a McLaren decision, not a United Autosports decision. So could he grow into? And so you know that's all part of us making the decision. You know, we drove everything on WEC, but who knows? Maybe Bobby's got something cooking that he's going to tell me this weekend. And could we be here in 27 if something triggered that or came to us like Bobby going, I'm ready to go? We'd sit down and have that conversation tomorrow. So I think that's also exciting, and some of the conversations I'll have this weekend is, if it's on our terms and our timeline, then 28's the soonest, because I just can't get my head around starting another racing team in 27. Yeah. But Bobby's already got a racing team or other teams down this grid, and so if someone came to us and went, hey, we've got this, we can do most of the heavy lifting,
phone lines are open.
He's got my number.
So Zach, you've been here racing back in the Grand Am days. Great racing. Weren't always troubled with a lot of fans here to watch. Last year felt like, Lord, it's getting hard to walk around here. You can't park anywhere. Already this year in 2026, I'm seeing folks on the opening day of Rolex practice and qualifying. Fences are lined.
The grandstand, I pulled out, was the first thing I noticed was today Thursday, yeah. And all the grandstands in the infield were packed. It was lined up. It was Thursday, so this place can be packed on Saturday.
Can you share though the context of having been here, loving the racing, but not a lot of folks were feeling it at the time? It feels like, and we're seeing this in many places, Formula One, IndyCar, other places where you are, but it feels like IMSA, beyond the cars, people are coming in and loving this.
I think the cars are cool. Let's face it, the Grand Am cars weren't the coolest cars in the world. Racing was great, but they're not what these things are. It's almost like what happened with kart and IndyCar, right? Because you had ALMS, you had Grand Am. Grand Am had the more staying power, but the ALMS was kind of the cooler cars, but smaller grid. And then they brought back the IMSA brand, which I grew up with. I mean, awesome brand, and GTP, everyone knows what GTP cars are. So I think it was early days where the product was great because the NASCAR family know how to promote motor racing, and it was almost like the vision was right, the racing was great, but the product needed to kind of catch up a little bit, and then it was like, well, do I go here or do I go here? So they have like Petit Le Mans, which was a rival series at one point, but now, I mean, if you look at the big endurance races, and I'm excited about Road America, so I think it's kind of a combination of, it's come back together, it's an identifiable brand, the cars are awesome, schedule combined is amazing, and it's working, and Jim France, the owner of IMSA, has always been a sports car guy. Even though when I was doing all my NASCAR business, what he really wanted to talk about was Grand Am at the time. So he's got a real passion for IMSA.
Let's close on this, talking about IMSA and the general world of IMSA. Historic sports car racing, a huge passion of yours. I already spoke about you being here with your Jag. But if you get an opportunity here to be here with your team representing McLaren, but also in a car, you do it. We get to Long Beach. I know you're going to be there. One of your mechanics told me the car you're bringing, which I can't wait to see that again.
Sounds amazing.
Right? Monterey, the reunion. This isn't just Zach playtime. This is like a deeply rooted passion of yours. You talk about that because marrying the I have to drive some amazing sports cars to feed me to do what I do, like, it's a real thing for you.
I love it. I've always loved it. I mean, these cars, I've been very fortunate to collect cars that, you know, started off at 143rd, and then when I made a little bit more money, they went to 118th, and then got a couple 1/4 scale, and then fortunately now I have the real thing, and I love it. Yeah, and you know, I need to be here because we're in endurance racing. So, but anytime, you know, I need to be in Long Beach for the IndyCar race, obviously, and then it was like, oh, they're running a historic race, so I might have a car that works for that class. And so I love it. I'd be at a racetrack every weekend, pretty much am at a racetrack every weekend. I love the history of the sport. You know, I was talking to Scott Pruitt earlier, who was one of my heroes growing up, and he raced the Jag, not my particular chassis, but was in that team. And then you have a huge appreciation. I've already got a little blister going. Steering, like, you know, I don't know that some of the guys racing today's cars, they're so refined, fully appreciate how macho, you know, those Jaguars are. So I think it's fun to drive those cars.
Watch us this season on NBC and Peacock. Be sure to subscribe to IMSA on YouTube. And if you're interested in digital activation in motorsports, visit IMSA.com/partnership.